Hello everyone. Around Valentine, I did a top 10 ships with an eye on the whole love storyline, discussing some of the shipping that the community has done, which left quite a few of you disappointed. Honestly, I had no idea that there were so many interested in the ships and vessels and spacecrafts found within the story of Warcraft. I also hate to disappoint, so let's discuss some of the more prominent and amazing vessels that can be found within the story. But of course, if we're going to do this, we'll have to do it right.
Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm WoWCrendor, and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists out of pointless things. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 10 ships in Warcraft.
Let's begin, shall we? Number 10. The beautiful ships we created in our shipyard during WoWCrendor. A carrier, destroyer, submarine, transporter battleship. These vessels were absolutely crucial in our war. Not only are they beautiful to look at, they also made sure that any possible content we might have loved to play through was taken out of our hands. Who even wanted to go to Farallon anyways, where you could just sit back and relax inside of your garrison, take some selfies while your followers do the adventuring for you. The vessels come with randomly generated names like Jen's favorite brew or the counterspell. Once upon a time, there was also planned to be one called Tyranda's Silence, a loose reference to one of her abilities within Heroes of the Storm. Some did not exactly see that reference. Instead, they were reminded of the Hush Tyranda, the Night Elf priestess being told to shut up by Malfurion, so the name was changed before release.
Malfurion!
Hush, Tyranda. Where is Illidan?
Number 9 is the Fizzle and Pozic Speed Barge.
The Cataclysm, it caused quite a lot of damage to the land of Azeroth, and Thousand Needles is probably one of the best examples of those changes. The dry desert wasteland was the perfect spot to set up the Mirage Raceway. Goblins and gnomes racing with each other to prove their superiority. Most of you probably remember visiting this area to get an insane mount speed increased trinkets, a delicious carrot on a stick. Now the area is flooded with water, and the goblins and gnomes are hanging out on the speed barge. It looks like a cross between a city-sized ship and an artificial island, with its own set of docks on either side and a warren of buildings, or perhaps machines built atop it. The barkeep Daisy used the power of her enchanted voice to loosen their spirits and their purses. Sure enough, from time to time, the goblins and gnomes, they will come to blows, but still, in the world of Warcraft, in the middle of a water wasteland, we find opposite factions just hanging out, having their races, having a grand old good time with each other. An example for the rest of the world found right here on the boats.
Number 8. The Juggernaut. When the Horde came through the Dark Portal for the first time, they took the world of Azeroth quite by surprise, and Stormwind quickly fell. And Melofar took their prince and the survivors away from the city to the lands of Lordaeron, which left the Horde behind. The orcs themselves needed new ships to go after them, but they had no real knowledge of shipbuilding. Thankfully, their allies were able to help out. The trolls, they knew how to make small, swift vessels, while the ogres preferred the more bulky and beefy Juggernaut. As most of you know, the Horde would be defeated, and Stormwind would be rebuilt by the Stonemasons Guild. Led by Edwin Van Cleef, they did a wonderful job, but when the time came to pay up, the Stormwind nobles refused. Under the influence of the Black Dragon Onyxia, they did not deliver what was promised, and Van Cleef led a riot through the streets. This in turn would result in the death of Varian's wife Tiffin, to which the now defiant Brotherhood, they set up camp within the Dead Mines and became quite a problem for the kingdom. Heroes were recruited to go in and take care of this, discovering that Van Cleef was actually constructed a mighty Juggernaut, making ready to assault Stormwind once again. His life was ended. The head returned as proof of demise, yet this did not mean the end of the Defiance Brotherhood. His daughter Vanessa would rise up from the shadows and try to finish her father's work. Poisons and explosions made it appear like she died to the heroes on the Juggernaut, but she is a very clever one and would later join the Uncrowned.
I was never very good at hand-to-hand combat, you know. Not like my father.
Number 7, the Gennadar. Gennadar? I don't know.
Many years ago, Sargeras decided that his newly formed Burning Legion, it could use a little bit more brain power. His demons were vicious and bloodthirsty, but most of them lacked strategic thinking. Sargeras needed cunning and tactically minded commanders to join his side, and he had seen a place from which to harvest such servants, a world called Argus. Home to the Exodar, these beings hungered for knowledge above all other things. Their two leaders, Archmon and Kil'jaeden, they were directly on board with joining Sargeras' crusade. But Velen, their third and final leader, he wasn't really down with becoming corrupted. While meditating using an ancient artifact gifted to the race by the Holy Naru, He could see a terrible future that would come for their people if they decided to ally themselves with the Legion. In secret, he gathered those that felt the same as he did, and he called out to Naru for salvation. In response, the Gennadar showed up, lifted them into the vessel, and it took them far away from their doom. Yet Kil'jaeden wasn't too happy with his brother betraying them like that. He swore that he would hunt down those Draenei, those exiled ones, even if it took him 1,000 years to do so. The exiled ones were on the run from their former friends and loved ones. Each time that the Legion discovered a new location, the Gennadar would take them away before harm could come to them. From planet to planet they fled, yet traveling through the cosmos, it required incredible amounts of energy. The Naru spirits had to bear the burdens of this extended journey, and over time, they started to weaken. They were well aware that the loss of their power would also mean that the Gennadar could fall apart. The time for running it eventually came to an end as they crash-landed on a planet known as Draenor. Now here they were stuck. No possible way of running, and the Legion would find them again. The weakened Naru, which was still stuck inside their ship, Oshugan, the orcs called it, a mountain of spirits. It would unwittingly start to draw in the souls of the fallen orcs, and became quite a holy place for their people.
Number 6. The Exodar. While trapped on Draenor, time would not be kind to either the orcs or the Draenei. Kil'jaeden and the Legion naturally found them again, unaware that they were trapped on the planet now, so Kil'jaeden decided to use the orcs and have them do the dirty work. Corruption and fel followed, a massive war that nearly wiped out all of the Draenei, while some of them were able to hide away within the Zanka Marsh. Over time, the Dark Portal was built, the orcs invaded Azeroth twice, pushed back to their own world, the Alliance of Lordaeron stepped through the Dark Portal and were forced to shut it down. The planet of Draenor would be overcome by corruption, transformed into what we call Outland today. The Legion had quite a presence on the world, but the demons were now invading on a much larger scale. This drew the attention of creatures across the realm, none more concerned than Velen. Throughout his hardships, he had never abandoned his faith in the Holy Light, praying daily for guidance from the Naru. Archmage Khadgar also used his magic to scour the great Dar beyond for allies to fight the Legion. Along with Velen's prayers, Khadgar's presence was felt by the Naru in the Army of the Light. They'd been waging their own war against the Legion on Argus itself. Eager to aid Velen and Khadgar, they saw Outland as an important battlefront against the demons. They could not really spare any soldiers from their army, but perhaps they could still do something to help Velen and Khadgar defend themselves. The Naru Adal, Mu'uru and Oros volunteered to assist the people of Outland aboard a dimensional fortress known as the Tempest Keep. The beings traversed the stars and arrived in an otherworldly corner of the Shattered Realm, which is called Netherstorm. As the Naru set out to survey the land and recruit allies, Kil'fa Sunstrider and his Blood Elves, who had come here with Lady Vash and Illidan, they saw the opportunity. They took over the Tempest Keep, even captured the Naru Mu'uru, and when Adal realized that they were going to need help from Azeroth, he gave his blessing to Velen and the Draenei to retake the Exodar. They concentrated their assault on the wing of Tempest Keep that contained Oros. They smashed through the Blood Elves' defenses. The satellite structure, it broke away from the Tempest Keep, and it vanished in an explosion of magic. Only after the journey did Velen realize that something was wrong with the Exodar. During the battle, a handful of the Blood Elves had fought their way into the vessel, and they sabotaged it, hoping to disable the structure. They'd failed to do so, but their meddling did cause the Draenei to crash land once again, this time on the planet of Azeroth, a remote area which is called Azure Mist Isle. The crash nearly destroyed the Exodar and its helpless voyagers. Casualties were enormous, but many of them did survive. They made contact with the Night Elves, they joined the Alliance, and they cleaned up the mess that the alien technology had created. From the Exodar, the Draenei would live out their lives on Azeroth and join the Alliance in whatever adventures followed next.
We haven't crashed the Vindicar yet, but given our track record, it's only a matter of time.
Number 5, the Skybreaker.
This flying vessel is a marvel of gnomish and dwarven engineering, a beautiful staging ground for Alliance forces to drop into Icecrown and bring the pain to the Scourge. It can be seen hovering the sky of Icecrown, instrumental in the salvation of Jaina Proudmoore, as she foolishly tried to confront the Lich King by herself. Taking on the Jail of the Damned, it was going to take a whole lot more than just one person, seeing how many of her forces were already wiped out at the Wrath Gate. Amongst the fallen were both a Fordragon and Draenor Saurfang. Now the Orc's soul, it was already taken by Frostmourne and turned into a Death Knight, while Bolvar was still being tortured by the Lich King. Perhaps if they were able to save the Paladin, then they could quell the unrest that followed after the betrayal to Wrathgate. Both sides were so eager to claim victory that they forgot all about going for peace, and instead they ended up in a gunship battle. Myrddin Bronzebeard versus High Overlord Saurfang, Alliance versus Horde, trying to blow each other out of the sky.
But I got a score to settle with Arthas, and you're not getting in me way.
Number 4. Orgrim's Hammer, the Horde variation of the Skybreaker. Named in honor of Orgrim Doomhammer, this marvel of Goblin Zeppelin engineering is a beautiful staging ground for the Horde to drop forces into Icecrown and bring the pain to the Scourge. It can be seen hovering around the sky of Icecrown, instrumental in the salvation of Sylvanas Windrunner as she foolishly tried to confront the Lich King by herself. Taking on the Jailer of the Damned was going to take more than just one single person, seeing how many of her forces were already wiped out to the Wrathgate. Amongst the fallen were Bolvar Fordragon and Draenor Saurfang. The Orc's soul was taken by Frostmourne and already turned into a Death Knight, while Bolvar, he was still being tortured. Perhaps if they were able to save the Paladin, then they could quell the unrest between the factions, the unrest that followed after the betrayal at the Wrathgate. Both sides were so eager to claim victory that they completely forgot about going for peace, and instead they ended up in a gunship battle. High Overlord Saurfang versus Myrddin Bronzebeard, Horde versus Alliance, trying to blow each other out of the sky. The ending is a little bit different depending on what faction you play for. As a Horde, you just see Saurfang claim the body of his son, reminding heroes of honor. No matter how dire the battle, never forsake it. On the Alliance side, we see Myrddin trying to stop Saurfang. Varian shows up, tells him to step to the side, and Saurfang is grateful for the kindness from the Highness.
Number 3, the Skyfire.
Pretty much the upgraded version of the Skybreaker. This vessel is powerful and fast enough to keep up with the Black Dragon Deathwing. Together with the Horde gunship, they engage the Mad Aspect at the end of the Cataclysm to stop his and the Old God's plans and bring about the Hour of Twilight. Warchief Thrall, or Goel as he was going by now, and the Aspects, they prepared the Demon Soul to deal some massive damage, while Deathwing's forces tried to bring us down. The Skyfire is a sturdy ship though, not easily taken out. From the air, we dropped onto Deathwing's back to slowly but surely peel away his armor. His corruption now exposed for all to see. The Dragon Soul deals so much damage that Deathwing crashes into the maelstrom down below, where all of us combined put an end to him. After this victory, the Skyfire received a new captain, Admiral Rogers, who piloted it to a land previously covered by mist, the land of Pandaria. Rogers has no love for the Hordes, not after what they did to our home of South Shore. Little gyro aircraft as well as cannons are now turned onto the Horde forces, but strong emotions like that have quite a negative effect in Pandaria. The land is infused with the Shah, and our war does not just bring death and destruction, it also feeds this ancient dark power. So, not only did the factions fight the war, they also had to clean up the mess that they created, while the Skyfire did his duty and brought the pain to the Horde. With the return of the Demons in Legion, we saw the Horde fly in under Darkspear's might, while the Skyfire held its ground against Gul'dan and the Legion. Varian and Sylvanas led the charge to the Broken Shore, an attack that would end disastrously. The Horde was unable to hold its ground. Their champions were crawling on the floor. Sylvanas had no other choice but to call the retreat, which some amongst the Alliance saw as a massive betrayal. Varian was then forced to sacrifice himself to give his people a chance to escape. Now Rogers already hated the Horde for South Shore. Gen Greymane had no love for them either, not after they plagued the city of Gilneas and murdered his son. The death of Varian and the news of Sylvanas setting sail for Stormheim, it had them quickly follow their prey. At the first opportunity that presented itself, they opened fire upon the Horde fleet. A massive battle followed, lots of explosions and murder on both sides. A battle that the Skyfire sadly did not survive. After a long tour of duty, its wreckage can now be found within Stormheim.
Number 2, Gallywix's yacht.
Goblins are all about making profits, and Trade Prince Gallywix is one of the best. Blowing up his competition, scheming and plotting, digging so deep for Kashemite that they actually found Azerite before anyone else did. This beauty of a goblin will stop at nothing if it means making a profit. Sure enough, mining so deep, it might have actually caused Mount Kajaro to erupt and cause massive damage to the home of Kazan. But not to worry though, a true trade prince can turn any situation into a profit. After all, his yacht was the only real way of getting off the island now. Supply and demand means that people were handing over their entire fortune to not die a horrible, horrible death. When they did finally pay up, he changed the deal on them and turned his own people into slaves. Unfortunately, while out at sea, they did get a little bit lost, and they ended up in the middle of a Horde and Alliance conflict. The humans couldn't use any witnesses, and the vessel is sent to the bottom of the sea. Who cares about taking the time to set the slaves free? It's every goblin for himself. Their journey would then take them to the Lost Isles and into contact with War Chief Thrall. Gallywix was even kept on as the leader of the goblins and an official member of the Hordes. No one knows how to turn a profit like Gallywix does.
You're just jealous of my pleasure palace.
And for number one, it was really difficult for me to decide, especially since the design of Sylvanas' flagship is so beautifully done. But all the same, I had to go with Jaina's flying boat, the Proudmoore flagship.
It might not be a dimensional ship powered by the Holy Naru. It might not be a little town or retribution from a man scorned. It might not have faced battle against Deathwing itself, but it is a freaking flying magical vessel. Jaina Proudmoore got hit hard by the Horde and did not trust them. During Legion, we saw Archmage Khadgar have a little bit of a cooler head, aware of the need of unity against the might of the Legion. He asked for a vote on whether or not to let the Horde back to Dalaran. Jaina voted no, warning them that if they did decide to let them back in, she would not be counted amongst them any longer. The Council of Six voted in favor of Khadgar anyways, so Proudmoore left the city behind to fight the demons on her own. Eventually, she returned to Kul Tiras and heard all about what her people thought of her. She had stood to the side as Rexxar and the Horde came into Faramore to end her father's plans of vengeance. He did not listen to his daughter. He did not see that this Horde was a different one than the one that he had fought against. So it was that Jaina stood to the side as her father's life was ended. Fast forward a few years, and the Daughter of the Sea, she received a couple of hard blows from the Horde. She is the one listening to her father now. She will not let Kul Tiras stand on his own as the war on Azeroth picks up, infused by this new powerful resource known as Azerites. While the Sea Chanty plays on in the background, she uses her magical abilities to locate the Proudmoore flagship, raising it from the depths.
I heard across a moonlit sea, the old voice warning me.
And when the Alliance needed her most, with their assault upon Lordaeron being nearly repelled by Sylvanas and her ruthless tactics, guess who showed up just in time to make the difference?
Jaina.
How long must she have kept that ship hidden to reveal herself at just the right moment? There's nothing like a grand entrance, and Jaina Proudmoore, the Daughter of the Sea, used her father's vessel and magical abilities to turn the tide of battle and give the Alliance a fighting chance against the Hordes. Her journey would eventually lead her back home to reunite the Alliance with Kul Tiras, while her vessel, it now just sails on the water instead of floating in the air. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we reached the end of our top 10 ships in Warcraft. Hopefully, you all got what you wanted, and for all you boat enthusiasts out there, you're really going to love the Kul Tiran recruitment scenario. Crendor, thank you so very much for joining me on this one on such short notice. Check him out for more beautiful pointless top 10s, and so much more non-content.
Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed this collaboration with me and Noble. If you want to check me out, you can see youtube.com/WoWCrendor. I got a whole bunch of pointless top 10s over there. I'm probably going to be making a new one soon. Or I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Crendor. Check me out. And thumbs up this video.
Until next time, guys. See ya!